Well, we do not have Carol today. Anyways, happy Friday, all of you. Happy Friday, and this is the Friday and the weekend episode of VCTV. And we have three fabulous speakers who are regular speakers on our panel. Today, we're going to talk about investments in education tech, e-learning, and how education has changed over the 2020 course of time, and what's the future ahead, and how does education looks like from like 10 years from now, or maybe in a couple of years from now. So let's just hear it from our speakers today. So before I okay, I just heard some little noise. So let me just introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LATOKEN, and I'm based here in Singapore. I host VCTV every day, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Singapore time. This has been a regular time. From next month, November, we just planning to launch 2 sessions in a day. This is like a test bed. We just want to see what's the how how can we cope with that as well. So, but we are going to launch, and we're going to announce the timings as well. So VCTV, the whole concept about VCTV is to connect investors like yourself with a lot of experience in the field of investments with founders who are looking to raise money. I remember one of the founders who is joining us today to talk about how he got funded during the time we had him last time till today. He's going to share how did he get funded. So that's the whole idea, like to get invested in early stage, especially what I gather from the investors. Early stage is where people are struggling to get that initial seed money. So yeah, a lot of insights coming to be there in this panel. And how technology is playing a vital role in shaping the way we're going to be embracing education going forward. So that's the entire sort of summary of the session today. Welcome back, John. Welcome back, Fabio, and welcome back, Gary.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So, hello. So I would like to start with John for sure, because we are in the same place. So John, because obviously for the new audience, for the audience who are watching us for the very first time, would you like to just start with a short introduction about yourself and the company?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Sunny, for having me here. It's actually my second time on LATOKEN, and I'm really glad to be here. I was here two weeks ago, same Friday. So we are a Singapore-based edtech company. So we have a main product called Classpoint. It helps teachers to build engagement with students during online teaching. So this year is obviously very, very special. Teachers face a great deal of challenges. Right from teaching online, a lot of behavior change, and a lot of teachers not so tech savvy, so they need to learn lots of things, and they have to cope with the new situation. So we help them by providing simple technologies to allow them to engage with students easily, because online engagement is a big pain point, right? When you have meetings with students to teach online, you don't know if they're listening, you don't know if they're following you, you don't know if they're learning effectively. So we help them achieve that. Yeah, that's basically what we do.
Right. So yeah, we're going to talk about your current investment that you received for your startup later. Thank you so much, John, and welcome back to the Friday's episode of VCTV. It's going to be fun, engaging session, just three of you with lots of insights on the education space. And next, I would like to move to Fabio, but I think I lost. Oh, Fabio, are you back? Are you there? I keep on seeing you and keep on losing you.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I got this for a little while, but I'm here.
Okay. So we can see you, but we can see you like tilted to the left.
That's how you hear me?
Oh yeah, now you're
See?
fixed. Now I can see you very clearly. I can hear you as well. Yes. Yes. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you and see you. Yes. But I
Fantastic.
didn't hear the question though.
Yeah, no worries. Just for the viewers and the speakers, just we'll like you to start a short introduction about yourself and what you do before we get to the questions.
Sure. By training, I'm an economist. I have a PhD from the University of Chicago. I started my career at the International Monetary Fund. Then I moved to the European Central Bank for the launch of the euro. And then I moved to the private sector, working for Goldman Sachs in London. And I moved to the Arabian Peninsula afterwards to work for various government and sovereign wealth funds in Qatar, Dubai, and Oman. And now I'm the partner of a US-based investment bank and asset manager. We do invest. We have a fund which invests in innovative companies, and we also advise startups to list on the over-the-counter market in New York.
New York. Okay, cool. Thank you, Fabio. We're going to hear more about the innovative startups that you would looking or you invested in later in the stage. So last but not least, Gary, hi, welcome back. How are you?
Hi.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, good to see you today. Great to be here. So my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur and an investor. I've started 16 companies. I've started 3 funds, and I've had 2 unicorns. So sounds like a Christmas kind of thing, does it? And a partridge in a pear tree. It's I don't know. It's like it kind of like sounded funny for a second, you know. But anyhow, I'm into artificial intelligence. I write extensively and speak around the world. I've written 84 articles now in the last year. My latest article is AI and ethics. I have a cybersecurity article on artificial intelligence that I'm writing for the UN on Friday, actually today. So it'll be finished today. Wow. So just love it. My latest article was in Forbes on Monday. It was AI and I think you read it, quantum computing.
Yeah.
So just love it. I believe that AI is a new electricity and data is the fuel to move it forward. And 5G is the turbocharger. And so that's really where we're focused across multiple vertical markets.
Yeah, you explained it so nicely. Thank you, Gary. Triple charger,
Sure.
yes, sure. Excellent. Thank you for all the introductions. We are all set. And today is a Friday, end of the week. So just be relaxed and and let's make it fun and engaging. Considering we don't have a bigger panel today, so it's good. So John, I'd like to start with you. Just tell me what's happening in this space. Take us through the biggest trends that you see in the education space.
I think so. The education sector is advancing with a very rapid speed, right? Because of COVID. So what we are seeing now is actually usually will take a few years to achieve. So right now you can see everybody's fast, not just startups. You can see Microsoft is very fast, Zoom is very fast. They're building infrastructures to take the trend of this online learning thing, because now it forces all the teachers to use technology. So we just had meetings with Microsoft to talk about potential collaboration and integration into Microsoft Teams. So they're into this. We're also into this because education is completely going to be changed. Even in Singapore, where we live, we don't have any cases, right? We don't have any COVID cases, but the schools have permanently decided to. So in K-12, they decided to do a home-based learning every 2 weeks. So it's full on learning from home. In higher learning institutions, they have also decided to fully convert their lectures online, right? So only the tutorials are going to be in class. And most of the lectures either will be delivered through flipped classroom, or they'll be delivered, through asynchronous e-learning. So a lot of the changes there. I think this will become a new normal, and it will change our behavior dramatically and forever. So that's why I think it's a good window for companies like us, for edtech, for other edtech companies to make the change. And we're also backed by technologies like the 5G, like the AI, AR, VR, as well as cloud computing to facilitate us to make these changes. So we will see that more and more conveniently, we can facilitate online and digital classroom techs.
Okay, great, John. So do you think technology, what I understand from you, because of coronavirus, so we have started using different mediums like Zoom for online education, and schools like K-12 and higher education, they're partially doing classroom and online education. Does that mean that technology is simplifying education, like the delivery, as well as taking down the cost of education?
Well, taking down the cost, I think you are right. In terms of, I haven't thought about cost so much, because there will be increase of cost. There will also be some sort of decrease of cost. The carbon footprint is actually, we don't use paper that much, and everything can be saved. We can collaborate. So I would say when we use technology, the learning efficiency is higher, and students can learn from anywhere. You don't have to like travel here and there. So in a sense, it is a progress, but in another sense, there are also challenges to be solved. Like how do you really collaborate with each other when you can only see each other online, right? So can you get tired when you have webinars the whole day? I think that all of you have experienced that, have meetings the whole day, and then you get super tired because you don't have that face-to-face touch with your colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture of both, I would say.
Yeah, correct. I think Zoom fatigue started quite early for me, but now it's business as usual for me. Just my personal thing.
Do you go to office every day?
No, I work from home, literally.
From home. Oh, wow.
And I think
I see.
Most productive year so far for me.
Yeah.
I haven't worked so much and so much better before.
Right. So last year, what was happening to LATOKEN? Do you host these kind of webinars every day?
No. So as VCTV was born this year. VCTV was born
okay.
February 2020 because
yeah. See, you're riding the trend. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Right.
Took those words from my mouth. And this is the best method, I would say. I mean, initially it was a little but now it's like business as usual, and it's very productive, in my opinion.
Exactly. So previously, I mean, people used to face-to-face meeting. So when we're doing a demo of our products, we usually travel to the schools and then meeting 3, 5, max 10 plus people, which is super hard to organize, right? But now, if we're meeting online, we can usually have like a big audience of usually sometimes more than 100, and it's quite efficient that immediately when you end a meeting, you can join another meeting. So in a sense, that's why you said it's very efficient. Every day you can meet tons of customers, saving time.
Also, based in Singapore, I can see my colleagues from anywhere in the world. I could have never thought that I would interact with the colleagues globally on an everyday, on a regular basis. But because of online, the way we work, it's all over Zoom, I tend to speak with everybody in the company. I have access to them now.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic thing. I would say this is just a very good thing for me, because I interact with everyone in the company now. So yeah,
because you don't have distance now.
Yeah, exactly. No distance. Right. Fabio, let's hear it out from you. What are the trends you see? Because John, obviously, for him, he's in Asia, he's in Singapore. He got recently funded as well. So with you, what trends do you see in the space, in e-learning, higher education?
Look, I start with an example. Before the invention of the gramophone, the recorded music. In Indiana, there were hundreds of opera houses, because every little village or town had its own opera theater with a local singers and musicians. With the invention of the record, all these opera houses disappeared. What is the analogy with the education system? Well, these small local opera houses disappear because people prefer to listen to the great voices like the Caruso, the great singer of their time on the record, rather than going to and paying a hefty ticket for a mediocre performance. So I think that the education, online education, will undergo a similar evolution. In other words, you will have that, say, courses like Calculus 1 or Introduction to Economics will be taught mostly in English, and we will have a sort of commoditization of traditional learning and traditional
Fabio, I think
courses. While, is there a problem with my connection?
yes, that is a
let me try to move to another place so where I can get a better connection, and go ahead with the others, and then let's see if I can.
Sure. It's Friday, so it's okay. You can, Gary.
Let me disconnect the video and the microphone, and then I'll reappear in 30 seconds. Then.
Thank you. So, Gary.
Sounds like we're having a party.
Yeah. I saw your message. I was like, can't say it, but anyways, yeah. Yes, Friday. Let's just have a party,
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like it's late in the evening, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in terms of, so I see some really interesting trends. And think about where we are today. 9 months ago, when this pandemic first started, we weren't really thinking about how we were going to educate children at home, or universities wouldn't be able to attend classes directly. But the world has dramatically shifted in that period of time, and we need to adapt accordingly. I mean, we're finally to a stage where people are starting to accept that we've got another 1.5 to 2 years to go minimum, right, with this pandemic. And let's look at, but on one side, as you said earlier, people have been a lot more efficient and effective during this pandemic because it's really freed up a lot of time. So we don't have to travel like we did. We don't have to fly from continent to continent to set up meetings. So there are some areas where I see there's a traumatic opportunity. One is e-learning with games for kids. The other thing is, in terms of engagement. So the term is micro-learning, how to engage that child exactly as where they are so we can help them learn. And I just was looking at some of the statistics. So learning transfer increases with micro-learning about 17%, but more importantly, there's about 50% more engagement. And the challenge is, how do we keep a child engaged when a teacher's not in front of them directly? What kind of technologies? And one thing about using Zoom, but using technologies like computer vision to be able to understand the behaviors of that child and adapt accordingly. So, on a teacher's perspective too, I mean, they've really got their dashboard in front of them. Now they're broadcasting over their notebook or home computer, they've got all kinds of resources readily available. So think about how that has changed too. Being able to broadcast content, videos, ebooks, that kind of thing, right from their system to that student. So in many, many ways, this has dramatically helped us move through this digital transformation, which our entire world is going through right now, adapting. In terms of the opportunities for startups, I mean, this is and for VCs, this is one of the greatest opportunities because we're forced to do something that was going to take 10 years. I mean, what do you think the chance that people would keep their kids home a year ago and not have them go, and I see your Minnie Mouse in the background, and not have them go to school because they have to be educated at the house? How does that really change things? So, great opportunity. It's forced us to do things that we wouldn't have done before. E-learning with games. I mean, we need to engage the students. It's really hard to engage students anyhow. And I'm a child clinical psychologist also. And I remember going through those learning theories and working with young kids. It's hard. And, they get distracted easily. So let's figure out how to engage more. If I'm a university student and I'm not on campus, the one thing is, part of it is about the learning, but the other part of it is in terms of the social experience. So how are we going to replace that? Because, if you're going to top schools around the world, in the States, Harvard or Stanford or, Cambridge or Oxford or wherever it is, how do you keep them engaged, or IIT? How do you keep them engaged? And it's critically important. And then the bonding experience that goes with it. We need to figure that out because that's part of the value of those high-level, expensive educations. And the other thing is, how do we keep the costs down? Does that going to have an impact on the cost of education because we can reach out so broadly? So it's a very interesting time. I actually, as bad as the pandemic has been, we're really fortunate. Like I've said many times, 5 years ago, I happened to be one of the early Zoom users. I worked with their VC, and they were interested in investing in my company, Eva. And so we had some discussion. So, here's this Eric from Zoom. Why don't you check it out? Nobody. I would send a link out. Friends would not sign up to Zoom. I had to call, say, listen, do you mind using this link? Well, I don't know. I've got Skype. I've got this. But guess what? They did it. Now look at it now. They got close to 400 million users, active users every day. And here we are. So the world has shifted and we've been forced to shift. Education has dramatically been impacted. And now it's not, if we're going to get back, it's a situation we need to adapt to, move this forward very quickly. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Back in the good old days, people would be like, okay, I'm traveling, I'm busy, I can't get on the Zoom call.
Sunny, the good old days. Sounds like some kind of movie, an old cowboy movie or something. Back in the good old days. Do you remember when we used to travel on planes and have really expensive dinners, nice dinners up in first class? Wasn't that interesting? Oh my God, it's like, it sounds like, probably at the turn of the century when they were driving cars. Do you remember when we had our old horse, Charlie?
You sound like it's not going to happen again.
Well, I mean, the situation is, it's going to happen.
But if in a few years' time we're going to the Mars, right?
Well, that's true. I mean, it's. I do some work with one of the NASA astronauts, and the space accelerator in LA. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about that, right? This is like, so here's the thing about immersive that's really incredible is think of the journey a child can make now using AR, VR, XR, the journey they can have in a classroom. So they want to explore Mars and they've got that capability. The challenge is, Sonny, not every kid has a computer.
Right.
So, and using your mobile phone to get online is not interesting. We got a serious challenge around the world is how do we get the devices out? So, we don't want to send a class society where you have a computer and you get educated or you don't. because nothing good's going to happen. Those are some of the things we got to figure out. But imagine the journey a kid can take today. They don't have to go on a safari to Africa. They can virtually go to the safari, right? Which is really interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, they can virtually go to anywhere in the world with their AR, VR, whatever sophisticated technologies that we have in place that I haven't used so far.
Yeah, hey, Sonny, there you go. You take your trip and you just send the money over. Just like, oh, I bought a ticket. Here you go. You got your trip.
Might as well have to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. Awesome, fantastic. I think we have Fabio back now. Fabio, are you here? Can you see us?
I'm here. I hope that you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that in Italy, since we had this new lockdown and children, don't go to school, and people have to work, through remote connections. The whole infrastructure, internet infrastructure, has collapsed pretty much. So we have that's one of the problems of having distant learning and smart working. That the infrastructure, even in countries which are fairly developed, is not keeping up with the load. But what I was saying before is that the education will become a bit like opera music. In other words, you will have a few international stars that will sell their online courses for introductory courses or the let's say basic education, and then you will have those who can really add something special, who will be the non-commoditized part, will form the non-commoditized part of the education sector. More importantly, there will be an integration of education and placement. What do I mean by that? We're looking into a company, a startup that provides a 6-month course to selected students. So students apply, 60 are selected for the course. They don't pay anything. Right. But at the end of the course, the school will find them a job, and they commit to pay 10%, 15% of their salary to the school for the following 3 years. So the business model is a business model which integrates education, job placement, and co-risk sharing between the student and the school on the success in the marketplace of the skills that these children have acquired. I've seen yesterday, I visited the school where they have, it's a programming school, it's a 3-year course, and the children, the students, learn completely without professors. So the course is given by an artificial intelligence program, let's call it this way for lack of better definition. But during the whole 3 years, they don't see a professor or an instructor. Everything is online, so they are they go through this course. They learn logic, programming, problem solving, and so on and so forth. They do exercises. The exercises are graded by the artificial intelligence system. And this might be another evolution, that the professor will become obsolete, like business travel and non-self-driving cars.
Wow, that's something Fantastic. I mean, this is something absolutely innovative, I would say, as something that I just got to hear from you, Fabio. I've got a question regarding the startup that you mentioned. 6 months free education. Is it higher education?
Yeah. It's essentially postgraduate. Like how can I say? This is another issue which you raised and might be interesting to touch upon. The school selects the students based on on an interview and a test. Now, it might well happen that a test is passed by somebody without a formal college education, or with education that has nothing to do with programming, like computer science, I don't know, physics, math, and so on and so forth. So this is, how can I say, disruptive for the certification element of the current school system, of the current education system. So you don't need anymore a degree to prove your worth. Your worth will be proven by your by how you score on a certain test or on a certain how can I say, assignment, and then you can be enrolled in this school, which is essentially a school for IT professionals, without having ever gotten a college degree or any other formal education. This might clash, though, with some regulations, because, for example, lawyers need to be to pass an exam. Engineers need to be member of the engineering guild or whatever in many countries. Architects, doctors, of course, need to be certified. But for IT, it's still a free-for-all, and the how successful you can be depends on how good you are, not on the piece of paper that they give you at the end of a course.
Very interesting. I mean, obviously, it doesn't apply to medicine for sure, or anything to do with research, I think, in the medical field. But IT, I would like to see, Fabio, how successful this startup is. So, are you exploring to invest in them or something?
Yeah, we're closely looking at it. The startup is based in Berlin. The students can take the course from everywhere in the world, so it's the physical location is irrelevant. And there are students who are like 16 years old and take courses with people who are in their late 20s, say. So they have already completed 2 batches. So it's taking off. It's not anymore a concept. It's actually being deployed.
Deployed. That's good. Wow, interesting. I mean, very interesting. Thank you, Fabio. I'd like to ask John, just considering the time we have. John, can you take us through the journey of your building your startup and how till you got funded recently?
Right, sure. Our startup is actually we started 5 years ago. Initially, we had an aim of building digital classrooms, which we are building continuously as of today as well. So I think despite of the pandemic, we're going to continue with the trend of like team-based learning, prompt-based learning, and all these pedagogies that requires the students to learn within teams, right? So we're going to, of course, to change the way that the lectures are being done. Students are passive, so everything is moved to active. So we built that, but this year is just the change that happened so quickly that even team-based learning in classrooms is not possible. in a lot of places. So how do we move that team-based learning or active learning pedagogy online? So that's a very important question to ask and to answer, because immediately if you can see your polls and see your instructors in classrooms, the kind of engagement is there. But if everybody is tuning in from home, it's so easy to get lazy and not involved in active discussion, right? So I think we've all experienced that, you know, because if the computer is just in front of you, you can very easily just switch to another window or to another browser tab and not paying attention. So I think the opportunity for us and for a lot of other startups is that online teaching, remote collaboration, as Gary said, the engagement is a big problem to solve, and how can we solve it with technology? So that's the opportunity for us, and of course the pain point is getting stronger and stronger and more frequent. He commented on the Zoom thing, so it's just a behavior change. Before that, people will prefer to meet you know, face to face, or they have the inertia to continue to use what they're familiar with. But because of this change, and suddenly this tool becomes so popular. So for us, it's similar. Can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you, but we see a frozen sort of
Right,
screen.
right. I see my camera frozen as well. Hold on, let me just
Yeah, but we
change
can hear you very clearly though.
I'm changing the camera for myself.
It looks like you're enjoying something in that picture. I
Yeah,
see like
it's
the
a
sun
new.
coming out, and it's like, it's hot.
You know, that's the
I
app. That's
really
the
like
AI
that
app.
picture.
I'm trying.
You
So
should
we
put
are.
that on a magazine cover or something. I like that.
Yeah, because of
That's
the background, because
Yeah.
of the virtual background. Yes.
right. That is something we want to incorporate into our product. You know, to make us to remove your background and to put yourself on top of your screen without any background, because that's more immersive. So right now we always have a small box, very small box. You can't control, you can't move it, and then it's on top of your content. So we're going to make it we make a change. We're going to make our faces bigger, and then cut off the background in real time and superimpose ourselves on the teaching materials. So it's going to be more immersive. It will look like those Twitch streams,
Wow.
streaming using OBS, things like that. But you don't need a green screen. So that's something we really want to achieve. For teachers to use flipped classrooms, or when they teach online synchronous learning manner, they don't want to see themselves as a small box, and they want to see them as big and on top of their content as well. Okay, back to the topic. Where was I?
Yeah, taking us through
Right.
the journey.
So yes, behavior change, right? So behavior change is actually opportunity for us. I don't know why I can't start my video. Yeah, so actually, so that's the opportunity for a lot of startups, because we are helping the teachers to achieve things like, you know, showing yourself and deliver a smooth lecture online. But what the part that we are doing is the engagement part, and we are helping teachers, a lot of teachers, especially if they're not tech savvy enough, because anything they have to do now, they have to do it quick. Yeah, they have to learn it today, implement it tomorrow. So that's a challenge for them. And what we can do is we understand teachers. I used to work in university, so I understand teachers, understand what they need. They only need very simple to use tools, and that doesn't break things up when they're teaching. So that's very super important. So that's why we developed a tool which is plugged into PowerPoint. So just to convert their normal, boring PowerPoint slides to interactive questions. So that's what we did. And immediately after that, we start to get a lot of schools sign up in Singapore, as well as audience from nearly 50 countries after 6 months since its launch. So that's the opportunity for us. And we are hoping to get partners to push this, you know, globally. through a partnership, and we are also looking for content partners to develop content together with us. Because right now, in an online teaching manner, the students will need a lot of materials consumed by themselves. So we have concepts like asynchronous learning, and all these have to be able to use content, right? So content, regardless if it's traditional content like video, or if it's more immersive or AR, VR. So these content need to be developed. So we are also looking for partners to develop content together. I'm sorry, my video is not showing up. I think I have a problem with Zoom. I'm just gonna restart my Zoom and join back.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah. Okay.
some of the challenges we face
Yeah.
because of technology. But Fabio,
Right,
wherever
right.
you are now, whichever place you have chosen to be, is just stay there for rest of our sessions because you are very clearly visible and clearly audible. That's what I just wanted to say. We just want to move to Gary with artificial intelligence question like machine learning. So I think AI and machine learning, that's what I gather from other speakers, has a big part in shaping the future of education, the way we work. So Gary, can you share some examples, some best use cases of any founders or startups with our audience using these technologies?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is, I mean, all kinds of different ways that it's going to have an impact. Look at Zoom, right? Being able to take a signal and to make it a lot clearer, well, except for today, than normal. Although Zoom's a lot better than many of the other tools out there. So the other thing is the massive amount of data that we need to process all the time. I mean, as I said, Sonny, you look at it today, there are 33 zettabytes of data. As we speak, 33 zettabytes of data in the world is enough to go to the moon with DVDs stacked end over end, stacked in a pile 23 times back and forth. And it's grown at 62% per year. So obviously AI has a profound impact. And in terms of these other technologies, AR, VR, XR, having artificial intelligence to be able to make that experience better, to be able to predict where, so if it's behavior on the screen, to be able to understand what kind of behavior the child's exhibiting, and to be able to correct accordingly. I mean, imagine a system that could actually look at that child's behavior, and if the child's getting bored, to be able to start producing some new content for them, or an interactive game in terms of education that actually is hyper personalized for that particular student or the micro learning experience. So it's there today. It's not like it's there. We're using it everywhere. When you use Google, you're using artificial intelligence, right? That quantum computing article I wrote was based on Google, right? They used AI and quantum computing to get a computer that's 100 million times faster than a standard computer. A conventional computer, 100 million. So we're just on the verge. We've got the challenge that we have, that schools have, is the massive amount of data. And how do we take that data and make sense with it and help increase the efficiency of the learning process with the students? And if we use it properly and incorporate the technologies, and we're just on the verge, this is the beginning of the process, right? This isn't, we were forced in this in March. By the way, just FYI, one little statistic, the internet traffic of the world went up 30% at the beginning of the pandemic. It's that much. It went 30%, which is what it would do in an entire year. That kind of an increase.
Wow.
So we've got some challenges. We've got to make sure that the broadband is wide enough to be able to take care of the traffic that's out there. I mean, imagine how much, if we look at the increase in traffic, so it's 30% in a month, which was equal to what would happen in a year, their systems are getting stretched. So we need to make sure we're continually optimizing. So, in terms of the schools, this is just a journey. This is the beginning. And the impact is just not with the technology and AI. The impact is with society and how we adapt, right? People having to stay home, they're working out of their house, the kids are there. Before, if your dog came into a screen or you had your child come in, it was a bad thing. Now it's a good thing.
Okay.
Or you got Minnie Mouse. I mean,
Oh my God.
Everybody's putting so fancy virtual backgrounds. I'd rather put something real.
No, I like it though.
Oh
And
my
and
God, I
but
still have problem with my video. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. We can
so
see you still.
so we're at the beginning of this incredible journey. We've had to adapt because of the pandemic. And by the way, this is not the worst thing that could happen. I worked for 3 years on a program, and we were working, looking at interesting technologies from around the world. It was a governmental program working with, the U.S., Russia, part of the EU, South Korea, Japan, and Canada. There's a lot worse things that could be out there. I mean, Ebola is not interesting. This thing we're going down through, I mean, people are surviving and they're coming out of it. Yes, it's a problem. Yes, there are people dying, but it could be a lot worse, really seriously a lot worse. So we should feel blessed that we are where we are. And if you look at the Spanish flu in 1918, it lasted about 4 years. The difference between, and if you look at the pictures, Sonny, today, you can see people with their masks on at soccer, football games. You can see people walking around in hospitals, et cetera. But they didn't have the technology to keep that cohesiveness of society, right? And keep society moving forward. We're blessed to be able to have this technology. And it's really helped humanity move faster forward, right? Because we were reluctant. We're sitting on our hands and not utilizing what we had. We've really done what would happen in 10 years in a matter of a few months.
Yeah. So Gary, a quick question, maybe something very basic coming from me. So if we always had been using AI, like with whenever as you said, using Gmail, using the Zoom, right now, but if I understand, artificial intelligence became very posh sort of name in the last few years only. Like, I've seen a lot of startups saying that we have deployed the artificial intelligence technology. We are raising this, we are new. So why was Gmail or, using AI, machine learning, maybe, I don't know, wasn't that fancy back in the days? I mean, what's the difference between?
Well, I mean, this thing's to look at. I worked a long time ago with Ops 5 and Lisp. It came out of the U.S. Government, right? Uh, so from that standpoint in Washington. So AI has been around for a long time. So the rudiment to the beginning pieces of artificial intelligence were used primarily in governmental applications. So, where we are today is a lot different because we're finally at a point where the technology, the hardware is able to adapt to the software. So machine learning, unsupervised AI. So there's different, right? So unsupervised AI means essentially it's making the decisions for you. It understands you well enough that it's really becomes part of you. It's an extension of you.
Right.
Semi-supervised, you're training it, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening is they're talking about things like algorithmic math and optimization algorithms, and they're associating that with true artificial intelligence. And its problem is people don't understand AI. It's like my best article is on deep learning versus machine learning in Forbes. I never thought I would get that many views on an article. And it was that article because people just don't understand what it is. And the net is essentially, with Google, right? Look at every day you're using Google. Google's understanding everything that you do. And every time that you say, listen, you're logging into some place and you take Facebook and says, do you want to log in with your Facebook account? They're understanding everything.
Right.
It's curious how you get on Facebook and all of a sudden you start getting ads. So if you're looking for, I just looked for lights for my Jeep, and literally in seconds I'm getting a competitor sending me light stuff on Facebook, right?
Yes.
And so what we understand is now imagine all those data points that are out there, how many different your internet usage. Listen, Google's not free, right? People say we're Google, they understand it's not free, right? They got to get something out of it to keep themselves in business. So think about all the ads and how much it understands. With Facebook, imagine all the pictures of people that you have on your Facebook page. Now they understand all your friends and your connections. You can start to make some very, very interesting predictions about who you are, right? If you really want to.
You understand more than yourself.
You can understand. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I heard the thing, they can understand when you're going to die, right? It's like, it's
Right.
incredible, literally. And so you can look at, so on one sense, those, and that's part of, keeping your business alive. But on the other side of it, imagine, I mean, you can actually, there's some tools out there. We can look at the internet usage and determine what's going to happen with the stock market, because you can understand what people are searching for and start to make some fairly accurate predictions.
Yeah.
That's
So
how they predict the pandemic as well.
yeah, exactly.
They
Exactly.
modeled
And,
it. Yeah.
I was just on a call yesterday with some folks directly about that. I have not done it, but I know of some of the projects that are doing it now. But that's, so the AI is there, but we just don't get it, right? It's amazing to me that here we are. Well, what about AI? But it's there. Every time you're on Amazon and you start getting some type, or Alibaba, and you start getting some predictions back, some things that you might like, that's where they are, right? And you're using Zoom today. That's what it's all about. Why is the signal generally so clear with Zoom? Because of your process, you use signal processing, process that signal and make it, clear. And that was a challenge with Skype before. And
Right.
so it's everywhere. The problem is it's creeping upon us and we don't even understand that it's there. You go into the doctor. I just went into my eye doctor and he said, come on in, look at this machine. And it was essentially a computer vision looking at your eye, making some accurate predictions about your eye, like instantly. So, and this is going to creep into all parts of our environment. Think about, you talked about going to Mars, right? And I had some deep discussions with one of the NASA commercial astronauts. And think about it. There's 6 billion Earth-like planets just in the Milky Way galaxy. And he told me directly, based on the Kepler project and some of the other research that they've done, but there are 200 trillion galaxies in the universe estimated. Trillion. So 6 billion planets like Earth, which are in the Goldilocks zone from the sun. Think about, all the exploration takes place to go to the Mars, and the technology is going to be enabled that you need to go to Mars. You need to be able to have an assistant. They're concerned about mental welfare. They're concerned about, asteroids and things coming into the sphere. Imagine how much analysis, how many sensors have to be out there to continually forecast how to steer that ship in the right direction so it doesn't have a fragment come through it. It's interesting.
And just now you mentioned quantum computing. That's another pillar as well. So if that gets widely used, whatever took us years will just take a fraction of a second. So we can predict a lot more. We can understand a lot more in a very short amount of time. So
I just wrote an article, and when I did the research on it, Google's developed a system that's 100 million times faster than a conventional computer because of these qubits and things. Right. And, instead of binary. And so if we look at it, 100 million, you could do things that would take 10,000 years in seconds.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's where think about it, how much humanity is going to move forward with that kind of processing power.
But that's also possibly dangerous if we don't use it well.
That's my next
use
article.
It correctly.
That's my next article. I can send a draft over. It's ethics and
AI. Yeah, exactly. Many people have this concern, right? So with quantum computing, we can understand our brain, understand ourselves. All these hard questions will take a very short amount of time to solve, and then after that, if we don't use it well, that probably will lead to disasters.
Well, and that's another article I wrote about, building compassion into a system. My billionaire partner, David Yang, actually in his house created a soul in his house. It's called Morpheus. It truly is the most advanced AI that I've ever seen in my life. He's got an incredible house on top of the mountain, a brand new house in California, Silicon Valley. That Morpheus actually has its own dog. It has a robotic dog that it's his pet. Seriously. The house has a pet. It answers the door, and if it doesn't like you, Morpheus does not let you in.
Wow.
I'm scared.
It moves panels when you get up in the morning. The panels move in the house, and it brings these gigantic screens in to give you the latest updates and things that you should look at. It actually picks the things, and it can consolidate information. So it can scan the entire web, and it can write a report based on information it's gotten that's appropriate for you, right?
Yeah.
Everything to give you a synopsis of what's happening in the world.
Yeah. I think that will be available for everyone.
It
Just
will
the-
be available.
yeah.
He's got it now. He showed me this dog. He's got a, I don't know, $100,000 pet dog for his house. His house is the soul of the house, talks and it writes me every once in a while, say, I'm lonely, what's up? So his house writes me on Telegram. But that's the future, right? Because if we think about our lives, right? With self-driving cars, there won't be insurance like we have now, because nobody's going to want to give you insurance, because it's a lot less risky to have you in a self-driving car. And it won't be one car. It'll be like Uber and Lyft on steroids, because everybody will have the use of the car. I just saw one of the latest from a company called Magna out of Austria. It reconfigures itself. It looks like a van. So if it's going to do a flower delivery, it reconfigures itself and changes it into a flower delivery truck. And then if it comes to you and you're going to the airport for your trip, for your family, it reconfigures it. It'll put a child seat in, right? It reconfigures to that particular individual, and it consistently does that, right? Transforms itself.
By yourself.
It's like
Yeah,
a Transformer. It's like a movie from the Transformer.
Yeah, it is, but it's real. I mean, I personally have seen it. So, and Magna is the contract manufacturer for the Toyota Supra and the Z4 of BMW in Austria. It's amazing what's going to happen. And I saw the Bell personal transport quadcopter that they've got. So these kind of things are coming into domain. I mean, they're now becoming real, and we're going to see them sooner than later. And insurance companies are going to jump on it, because they're not going to want to have people driving their cars and all the risk that's involved with it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to live longer.
And it's going to happen faster and faster.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think this conscious of the time. Fabio has some dinner planned already. Hi, Fabio. Any closing remarks before we close the show? Are you there, Fabio?
Here I am.
Yes. Do we
Hello?
see? Yeah. Do we see you, or are we just here?
Hello?
Yeah. We can hear you. Yeah. Hi. So
Do you see me?
Yes, we can see you very well. So what's your closing remarks for today's session?
What I would like to say is that the whole education, artificial intelligence, quantum computing is opening a new era of progress and magnificent future. I just want to maybe end with a word of caution. In order to predict something, you need to be sure that the past is a good guidance for the future. If that is not the case, prediction becomes a really difficult task, if not impossible, because you need to have some hinge on which you can base your prediction. And usually the hinge is what has happened in the past. So, even the most advanced artificial intelligence program might not be able to give us accurate predictions, because past is not a good guidance for the future. And another remark I'd like to make is that, progress in human, across the century of human evolution has been based on unpredictability. So this element needs to be preserved somehow, because if everything is, if the Holy Grail becomes, the accuracy of prediction, well, we might be losing something of value for humankind.
Very
I need to go now because I have another
Sure.
conference call coming up. So
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you
say
very
bye
much for
to
your
everybody
time.
and to our viewers.
Thank you, and have a great weekend, and speak to you soon next week.
Thanks, all the best.
Thank you.
Bye, Fabio.
Bye.
Okay, great. So John, over to you. Just as a Friday evening for us here as well. So closing
Right.
remarks and feedback about VCTV.
Yeah, I think today's topic is very interesting. We started from EdTech. We end with definitely not just EdTech, but technology and our future and how fast we're going to progress into the future. So I'm very interested in these topics actually. So because our technology development is going in an exponential way, right? If not, faster and faster because of computing, because of different technologies and 5G and all these things. So it will definitely influence EdTech as well, education. So it will affect how people learn, how people teach, and how do we collaborate as well. So pretty soon by 2028 we're going to land on Mars, and it's not VR tool, right? but of course at the same time the various technologies will help us to learn regardless of where we are. So as usual, I enjoy my time with you and with LATOKEN, VCTV, and really great to be here. And
Fantastic.
with Gary as well.
Same here, John. I mean, I always like to. The first time I had you on the show, and I could sense that you are coming back on our show regularly. Thank you, and
Thank you.
Gary, over to you to closing remarks, please.
I think this, from my standpoint, this is one of the greatest times. It's not that something good to have, it's something we must have. So EdTech needs to move forward so we don't lose our momentum as a society, right? We've got to go down through and embrace it, create a more immersive, more hyper-personalized experience for kids. Should have happened a long time ago, really, to make it more efficient. I mean, our lives have become more efficient than they were before. I don't know about you, Sonny, but I'm working, my efficiency's going up and I feel like I'm working 3 times more than I did pre-pandemic because I'm not I don't have like the downtime of traveling 5 hours on a plane, right?
Yeah.
So it's going up and the expenses on that side have gone down. So this is a great opportunity for startups to be able to look at how to hyper-personalize, come up with some innovative technologies to make the learning experience much more efficient and deeper. On the other side, for VCs, it's a great opportunity to invest in those companies that make humanity and society keep moving forward. I mean, it's not going to stop. It's just a matter of who's going to get in there first. So I'm excited, and I love VCTV. Sonny's my hero, and it's great to be here. In the beginning of the week, I see her. At the end of the week, I see her, and it just makes me smile every day. So I thank you, and I love VCTV.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, John, for the kind words. And I really, Gary, I was asking you that yesterday, why didn't you, how come you're not there yesterday? So that much I miss you on the panels if you don't show up one day.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much. This is a Friday episode of VCTV, and weekend is just there. Literally, we're going to be, I don't know what's a plan for the weekend. Are we still going out for drinks and socializing? I don't know. In Singapore, we do, I think. I haven't been, but I don't know for Gary, what's the plans? But I think these are the 2 days.
I'm going to go to the Gulf of Mexico and ride my bike down by the beach with my wife and my dog.
I'm going to the Jurassic Mall.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great.
So yes, we have all plans for the weekend. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate John and Gary for startups and founders and investors who would like to contribute and network and be a part of this community. Please go to the website www.latoken.com/profiles. You can see the investors like Gary. His profile is there. If you like to talk to him, please contact us and we can help you reach out to him. And similarly for investors, if you like to share the space with Gary, you can always do so by writing to us. My friendly colleagues, Carol and Maria, are definitely going to get you on board. Having said that, again, happy Friday. Have a great weekend.
Happy Friday.
Please.
Thank you.
Weekend. Okay.
We like to
Bye,
have you
Sonny.
back.
Bye, Gary.
Bye.
Yeah.